And so it has upon us that the times have changed. There's been a falling out with the western tribes and the east. But how new is that? In this time, we call in our brothers and sisters to support us. How wide and how broad has Buddhism stretched over the years? 22, now 23 different and very unique faiths are part of the group, and there has been a push for Veda to re enter. So far, no chance. There's not really any possibility of us agreeing with a group that goes out and slays others for their sexuality. But Surveta we have not removed, and their redneck brothers, are they better or worse? Do we need Surveta? One of our largest groups, the largest group in India, one time over 200 million followers, and now many more. It was nearly the largest group in the world, but no longer. You live in a world where there's a lot of atheism, and how far apart can atheism be from atheism? All atheisms must follow something. You can't just simply stop following. You're on a path in life and you're walking forward. So will you randomly, because you've given up on faith, choose another path, do a new job, change your sexuality? All the laws must therefore change in your country. Well, I mean, you can't do that, and this is the nonsense of atheism. Sometimes I've studied atheism further than most Dalai Lamas would suggest one should go, but I am one of what we call the Ascended Masters, the Enlightened Masters, one of the older Dalai Lamas, and I spend more time away from Buddhism with it than with it. So what is this agreement to join a group that will slay others when we've had so many problems with Theravada? Well, this is very ridiculous. I can't really imagine that we would ever allow Veda to join, and I have a falling out of opinion with any Dalai Lama that might support it at this time. Can we bring around Theravada if we bring in their bad influences? Part of it is viewed as bringing them back to the tribe, but yet, do we want to bring in the crazy girl who's robbed stores, who's murdered, who's killed, who's joined the Viet Cong, killed our brothers, killed our friends? Yes, I've met a few people like this, and how hard is it to say they should die before they re-enter our family? So we haven't accepted them or re-accepted them. They were kicked out over 200 years ago. In the last decade, they were kicked out by Hinduism, sometime before 2011, maybe 2008. I would have to ask around, not a long time ago. I've also heard other big changes in China. Moving on, obviously there's a lot to say about that, and I'll touch on that a bit more. But as far as Canada goes, we are the enemies of those that kill because of religion, faith, and lifestyle, and as such, we could never allow the Veda into our country. They're completely banned. Anybody who got in on the sly. I'm aware there are a few in our community here, and our great Go champion of Canada had his parents also involved, so they're not all terrible, awful people. If we bring in a few, then we can influence them and change them. I'm not saying go out and kill all these people. Certainly not. That's far from it. How can you fix imbalance with further imbalance? I'll just speak of the four fallen Buddhas. Basically, they've come to the UN sometimes. Before 2018, when I spoke there about an issue we had faced at the time called COVID-18, which had over a 2% mortality rate in our north. It was a 4 or 5 strain coronavirus. Everybody was covering it up. It wasn't a particularly strong one. Each member of the strain only had a 0.5% mortality or lower. The weakest one about 0.2%. So if you're a virologist, that's a good time to catch it. And we had the UN. I had the UN talking about this in November and December of 2018. So far, we don't have a full vaccine yet for the whole country on COVID-19, which came out in the next 6 months after that appeared, and some were calling it the same for a long time, but I don't think they're, as far as I've heard, those are completely different strains of coronavirus, but it's good to deal with. Anyways, when you go to UN, you like to talk about that, and it was very stressful for me to talk to China at the time. I had trouble sleeping, trouble meditating after assisting China, and it's taken me a long time to figure out why. Basically, I didn't sleep for about 4 days after I spoke to them. It hurt me so much to actually assist anyone in China, and but we spoke at the UN, and we'd often been enemies, and now we spoke as friends, and that was all right. If you're familiar with me, I'm the Crown Prince of Canada and the Dalai Lama of Canada, the only official Dalai Lama, Mike Katzberg, and I also do a fair amount of military work, which some have wondered about. But when there was a call for Dalai Lamas on November 1st, 1975, that is where I came in with all of the Dalai Lamas as we could find, and it's been an interesting life. Usually I have not been allowed to say that I'm the Dalai Lama. Lately I have, and there's a falling out between me and the 4 fallen Buddhas of China. And why have they been exiled? And that's the question. What does the UN have to do with this interesting lead-in? Well, it's because if I went there and these 4 would show up, they would complicate things. They're not the head of China. They don't speak for Buddhism, and they say they do. There have been so many wars in that region that whatever has happened to Buddhism is not what's happened to the rest of the world. Is it possible to exile them truly? We wonder. Well, the other, 26, 28 Dalai Lamas are absolutely certain that we should keep them removed, and certainly there's more in training, and it will remain that way. Maybe Laos and Cambodia have their own views and opinions. Do they have any Buddhists in some of these countries? They've been killing and slaying Buddhists and having false priests, black priests, enter their traditions and teach evil things to the followers, believe it or not. And there's a bit of a rift there starting. Is there going to be 2 forms of Buddhism, 2 core Buddhisms, one that allows ethical atheism and one that allows more sensible, less communist customs, more homosexuality. There have been 2 of the Dalai Lamas at one point were married, and I think they've stepped down since under all the pressure. The rumor is that they died, but you never kill a Dalai Lama, as we know. Maybe I should call them. That might be a nice YouTube video, and see how they're doing. Because I don't think they're dead. I don't want to believe they're dead. If they lived around the Veda, they would certainly try to kill them. So is it possible to exile these 4 fallen Buddhas further, or are they here to just stir up problems? I think we just say they're the problem. They've spoken to the UN, and they've said several of the Buddhas are not members anymore, and that they speak for everything because they're from China. China's the head, but that is not true. All the Buddhas, all the forms of the Buddha, the currently allowed and the acceptable apostles who have become forms of the Buddha speak together as one and say that 4 Buddhas and 4 Dalai Lamas cannot kick out all the other Buddhas. That doesn't make sense. There's one form of Buddha, and that is the form that supports all of Buddhism. And it should not go, particularly further. I don't want to see a priest particularly teaching who is any form of faith if they're teaching a lot of atheism with their teachings. I mean, it's a different world. We in Canada we have about 80% non-practicing Christians, and then we split the rest up, and we had huge gains in Zen, up to 11% of the population at one point. They rolled back to 8, and I think they've suffered since. But as that became in 2011, it was declared by myself and the other Dalai Lama as an actual legal path, and no longer a heresy. That stirred things up a little, and so we can say we have huge support for Buddhism. Also, the Viet Cong attacking and killing throughout their own country in Canada, and in Townsville, where I was initially born. I was initially the official Dalai Lama of Townsville, and that immediately would mean they'd try to kill me. A lot of the exiles would even try to attack me if I made it known who I was. So at that time, I became an undercover Dalai Lama, shadow Dalai Lama, if you will. And that is one of the paths that fortunately the Dalai Lamas have had to follow, and the Lamas and other priests in recent years, to have a country and a place for Buddhists. And Canada is very accepting and tolerant and allows all Buddhists to move here as long as they're compatible with democracy, and they have the wherewithal to purchase and own a business, or that they plan to work while they're here. And we're a little different than other countries. We're mostly straight, so you shouldn't hold that against us. But if you live here, you'll find us very accepting. And the other question, there's a question about trimming hedges. Should there be that many paths? Do we need 23 paths Buddhism? Somebody said 2 of them died out. I don't know. I've not been familiar enough with those groups to know. Are we talking about Veda and Surveda? No, that's only Veda died out. Hippie Western, I'm very interested in. I think that could become something legitimate. And the reforms to Theravada are so thorough that in North America, the two, I've been thinking, should talk a fair bit. I don't know if they'd be one, but they should reform perhaps together than apart. If all the hippies wanted to be Buddhist, which not all of them do, some like having a very good example, a more positive view in the lines of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and a more productive linear line of thought with simpler rules and agreed on rules, and perhaps very soon a gospel, although they have preached against ever owning a temple. Currently there are many Unitarian centers and other sites that can be rented out by such groups. Recently, a few years back now, I was invited to hang out with some of a local group of hippies, and went okay. Kind of interesting. Their leader was really strange around the edges, and highly weird sort of guy. Other than him, they were pretty good. Wearing a Boy Scout uniform, saying he was a police officer, and believed he had psychic powers that could make everybody else see his uniform. As a police officer outfit, and what was he doing? At one point he wanted to kick me out, and I never got the reason, so we just kicked him out. And it was kind of a case of wearing the emperor's clothes, and if he came back with good reason, I would leave. But I said, I'm the head priest here. I am the Dalai Lama. Are you? I'm the crown prince. Get into some funny situations. Lately there have been talks about Zen rejoining us, and maybe I'll put that in another discussion. That's kind of large topic to get into. I would like to say the path forward is always a heresy. All progressive faith is called heresy, so priests must be around this if they are at all tolerant And if they have a high IQ, we're always around this, and we should not view the newest as the worst. It'll be interesting to see what Japan does with this. They're the biggest push forward they had. That number's over 30% there, but they dipped for a while, and the zeros, I think, no, and the zeros did, at the time past they're joining in 2011. But with the recent epidemics, or plague, if you want to use that term, it's different world, and there's people renewing their faith. Is it good to bring Zen fully into the fold? How do they relate to Dalai Lamas? I don't know. I've had 3 or 4 people call me or tell me in the last 2 years that they were the Dalai Lama, and I asked them if they were a priest. And they all said they were priests. And I said, "Do you have a congregation?" Only one of these guys said he had a congregation, and I had further discussions, and nobody had ever authorized them as Dalai Lama. So that might be the issue with bringing a lot of Zen in. They're known for their bisexuality and their very brazen behavior. The great poets, great people, but yeah, we'll see how that fits. I think Zen is wanting to say, "Oh, we want to have our own Dalai Lama" or something, and there's some friction there. They tend to have cults, I guess you could call them, small churches, usually meditation groups, and so maybe some of these people are chafing at the bit. They don't want to accept that they are part of a larger family. So that is interesting. There should be some letters and discussion, and maybe we can put a little on YouTube. I think it's good to bring them into fold. I don't have a problem with them, and I think they're not going to be happy with some of the rules. I don't think most of them get some of the larger issues surrounding the faith, and that they're going to be a target of the Viet Cong and other communist groups are joining us. A lot of them are communist in this country, and some of them, many of them are bisexual, but some are more straight than others, and they could find some issues there. But I think in Canada they're fairly safe in a number of ways that they are not in other countries. So I'd like to talk to their head in Japan about this. I don't know. Do we have a Dalai Lama out there? I think sometimes we do. Yes. My heritage goes back to the southwest region there. Many past lives in an area called Japan, or sometimes kicked out by Japan more commonly than not. Similar to if you look at European history, what happened to the French and the Germans. The Germans tore through the French to get at the English, and then the French no longer viewed them as French, and the Germans didn't have nothing to do with them. More thoughts about Zen. Are they true Buddhists, is what many have asked. Are they closer to Gnosticism and agnosticism? And certainly that's where their faith comes out. There's sort of a view that they could have more views than anyone, but from some I've talked to, they said once you join a meditation circle, you realize how strict it is, and it could be more strict than other paths and faiths. Certainly more strict than hippie Western Buddhism. Are there great heresy? Great meaning very positive and highly supported in this country. We're not the Wild West anymore, but we like to be outlaws with our theory and our thought, and all thoughts are acceptable and discussed, and many should be thrown out right away. Lately I've had some good feelings about Theravada, the best in a while. I think once I had only one dream. Our community was under attack by the Viet Cong, but when I was born, it was not a dream. So it's good to see that there's a push toward the opening of borders with Vietnam. Initial days I talked to them. There's actually a presentation locally I went to, and they said they did not want Buddhists within their borders. They don't want priests heading down there. They had tried to have less fights, And I don't think all the gangs down there fully accept that. So lately they're trying to rebuild the downtown. The government wanted to do one thing, the gangs wanted to do something else. I like the sound of that. Redo downtown, and to the people around them who hate this, it sounds like democracy, but it doesn't have to be democracy, does it? Democracy is all about gangs. What gang rules, what gang leads, comes out of pirates and things, and it sounds fun and we enjoy it. And then when we're in our later years, we say, "Why are we part of this?" I think that's true of any thing. A democracy or a fascist leadership or a dictator state or something straight up socialist, left or right, Nazi or communist, or anything. There's questions to any path. Many question the Republic, and I've been working on something regarding that lately. So are we done with Vietnam? Are there no more fights? I don't know. Maybe I should call people. Let's see how they're doing. Do they need a Dalai Lama down there? So maybe we're not quite done. We all know he'd be gunned down immediately crossing the border, or they try. If they had enough guns and cannons, they might get there. Before he ran off. And I probably want to do some more discussion about hippie westerns later, maybe in a second or third video. Future free love is an interesting one. Kind of silly one. Priests can get into it and not laugh, but anybody watching those videos is going to have a real hoot and a holler and be a knee slapping good time. Have we thrown down the towel with Christianity? No, thrown in the towel with Christianity. That's the other one. Haven't gone to war yet, but hippies are being very supported lately. I can't technically call myself a hippie, but that's sort of a good thing. They're not allowed to write anything about hippies. I don't know about publishing, so I get to write about them, and they can't do anything about it. Yay! If hippies throw in the towel, will Christianity steal the towel from behind them? I don't know, because it's hard to say. Will they just say there's no more free love? They can't just say there's no more free love, and that's what everyone has adopted in the last 50 years. The fastest adoption of a cultural change that I've heard of. Wow, is it hard for Dionysus and Christ to get Romans to give up slavery? So what is it? Is that all, including the kitchen sink? Are they done? Have they joined? I don't know if it's all. Priests, I think, lately have said in the last 3 or 4 years that they consider free love acceptable. And it's not just me and the UN saying, "Oh, that's probably acceptable, we should change your laws," but we're ahead of things. It's not me and a prime minister or president saying, "I think free love's acceptable. You can't get a wedding still?" Oh, that's weird. Basically moved on. Alright, we just had our own weddings. We had unofficial weddings. We had justice of the priests, and we thought church weddings were great. We should pay more for them, and nobody would take our money. That was good. We saved money. Follow the anti-materialist way. Okay. So how deep are we? Is Buddhism in with it? Is that the end of hippie Western as a Buddhist following? I don't think it is. I think Zen is a little unstable. I think it needs a second group. And maybe Theravada offers them something. They're both looking for a diverse path, multiple vampiric path. Vampires being like angels to our philosophy, of course. And we've been very exposed to Christians around here, so we would say maybe something's angelic sort of vampire, but why doesn't a vampire want to be angelic is the question, and sometimes that's more unstable path that one does not begin on, something a priest doesn't study until their later years as a very experienced person in this world. can we unite all these causes, and should we? I don't think we should think about it. I think we can. I don't think that if hippie Western just shut its doors, that would be the end for Buddhism in North America. It would move us from saying, oh, we have 85% of the population supporting us in some way, to mostly, well, they got in with the Christians again, so that was nice. We brought out some social change, and that was good. And there's a plurality that free love and caring for our community brings, and I suppose other forms of clan marriage, although I haven't lived exactly in that. I would say Townsville in the 70s was very close. Interesting community. Does community end with our faith and with our countrymen? I don't think it does. I think we should accept all faiths. Something that the Dalai Lama and the Tibet have spoken on several occasions, and we're very strong supporters of, and we think all the other Dalai Lamas should be pluralists also, and it's great to hear some voices saying that. Viewing that as very high status structure and something that is worth thinking about, that is putting Buddhism ahead of some other faiths. I think that's all for now. I have a few other notes I'll bring up about the problems with the Anglican faith. There's been some recent drama with the archbishops. In our last border struggle, and that's almost its own 5-page document. I think there's too much there to just go into, and we can say that there should be some change. I spoke with their clergy, also having high rank in the Anglican, Catholic, Greek Orthodox, and Benedictine faiths. I had some clout there, and I said that we should have our own archbishop, and I didn't put a name forward. I haven't been talking to that many people lately, but there's always someone. And they asked if I would do it. I said I'd do it if nobody else would do it, but it could be a conflict of interest. I don't plan to be an archbishop anytime soon, although a drunken call from my half-brother, Prince William, assigned me to be a bishop of some weird church I had never heard of, like the Seathon or something, some heresy of Catholicism. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm sure we don't have a cathedral in our city. And he thought it was funny, but so I think I'll pass on that. I'll assign you to Archbishop. How about, since you're Catholic, we do something that makes sense, And he was from a Catholic family, and he was a funny guy. So I assigned him to somewhere ridiculous that I'm sure he won't ever take up on. There's a Archbishop of Prague that I rather admire, and a little bit like a soul twin from another part of the world. I said you can work under him, but you have to learn some mean guitar, and that's what the church needs right now. You can be a bishop who's a guitarist. I think that's what I said. While I have been doing some writing on anger. I think that a lot of us feel that when we're tied up, kept up, locked away, particularly for retired or mostly retired people, it's interesting to have less people and less friends to associate with. It's a struggle. It's a very high level struggle for some of us who've had struggles with depression. I'd say long-term depression is really a bad one. Any mental illness is going to be worse when the stresses are higher, but at the same time people might respond better because of all their experience dealing with that kind of stress. I could ask the Premier of Ontario on that one, Rob Ford, how he's holding up for it. He's an interesting guy. I think it's Rob Ford, Doug Ford? Doug Ford, maybe. Anyway, I think that's it for now. Maybe I can talk about coronavirus and a couple other issues later on. Thanks for stopping by, and may you follow a blessed week and have a wonderful life forward, and blessings of the winter season with you.